Hey, welcome to H3 Health, Hope, and Happiness. My name is Alan Friesen. With me is Brother Scott Sweetman in person today. And we have a special guest with us, Brian Nimijan, Brian. Yeah. And Brian, we only met a week ago.
Yeah.
And we are like fast friends. We got big, big plans. And part of the plan both of us share is that we are both community contributors, Brian more so than me, but we're both community contributors who want to do more than what we've done in the past. So that's what we're about, is getting up in our contribution is what we're about. Now, Brian has run Camp Carmangay for 30 years and made it a place for kids to be kids. They could come, they could ride horses, they could sit out by the fire and sing songs and play basketball and do all kinds of other things that kids should do. It's an amazing, amazing place. And so Brian is just going to share about what he has been doing, what his plans for the future, what kind of difference he wants to make in this world.
Wow, what a great lead-in. You're so good. Because a great overview. It's all about kids. Kids for me, kids for all of us. And Camp Carmangay was a great concept. And it's about a cost-free opportunity for kids to be kids from every walk of life, from middle, low, and high-income families, just to be a kid. And you described it great, Alan. It's horses, teepees, campfires, wide open spaces, no expectation. There's no counseling. There's not a criteria. It's learn about self-esteem and maybe some life skills. Camp Carmangay's got a little cafe and like a turn of the century. I guess it would be a country inn. And
it looks like a hotel.
A turn of the century hotel, exactly. And what we do with horses is it's quite classic, where we teach them once safely. Nobody's ever been hurt in 35 years. And then let them go and discover on their own. That's really the heart and soul, and the impact is coming to a place and an opportunity where nobody's telling you what to do and how to do it. Finally, when I interrupted one early initiative was to interrupt gang registration here in Lethbridge at the Golf Gardens Park. And the process was absolutely had no organization, no structure. I had a Coupe de Ville Cadillac, okay, 4-door. It was great. I slapped a taxi thing. Back then, it was only $50 to buy a license. I didn't know how to work the meter. And I just went to the park and I took all-comers with weapons and alcohol and drugs and missing teeth and, the extortionist, the prostitute, the drug dealer. And the common denominator was identifying with the spirit of whomever, not what he or she did. Everybody out to Camp Carmangay. And it just kind of started a metamorphosis of sorts, with here's where you were and here's what you're suffering as. And with the right opportunity, non-judgmental, I'm going to let you be you. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're heterosexual. I don't care what color your pride is. I want to just know that your spirit is at peace. And I'm going to help you do that. Horses are healing. If you want to start, we're in Alberta. You're a former cowboy. When it happens, something, you put on a hat. I'll give one story, then someone tell me to shut up. We had a kid, because we had probation and within the judicial system, so we had kids referred to us. And your classic, iconic, tough kid shows up in Camp Carmangay, middle of summer, with the hoodie and and you can't see it's 35 degrees. And we just there isn't a way to implement love. You just put it out there. Happy is something that has to be natural. You don't say, let's be happy now. That's a hard look. You've got that look. That happy look. Anyway,
Brian is including Michelle in the
right. I'm not looking at a wall.
It's not his imaginary friend. It's a real person.
Well, I have those. But So day one, the typical gangster right out of probably youth jail or court. And we recognize, and the gruff stuff, don't want to, what's happening, this and that, the band. Day two, he's on a bike in a pair of shorts. He shed the hoodie and he's just become himself because there's no facade that had to be put on to survive.
He didn't have to make himself tough to keep himself safe.
No,
right?
everybody else was just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And he could be a kid.
Yeah.
He could just be a kid. And that was many years ago. It's the one that keeps coming back. Just, no phony baloney. I'm a trucker. That's what I am. I'm skilled and nothing else. A trucker with a piece of land and an old horse. And so it says that you don't need training in anything. You need to just be a neighbor. Simple. Just be a neighbor. It used to happen. There's that. There, I got you.
We were looking at recently a marketing course, and one of the things they said is the reason most people don't do anything. The number one reason people hide is they say, "Oh, well, I have to do this before I can do this, and I have to learn this before I can do that." And their whole foundation was that actually what you need to do is get involved.
Yeah.
And it becomes an excuse where you have to have everything just perfect before you can start. And I think a lot of our listeners find that in their daily life. There's things that they want to do and there's things they would like to share, but they're not ready. They need to polish it a little more. They need to, you know what I'm saying?
I do. I know that complacency is a killer. So you're timid when you're first starting. I mentioned with the mustard seed, didn't know what to do. I'd like to try something, but what do I do? Knock on their door. And I've had the experience where I knocked on a door and someone who answered it was quite complacent with what they were talking about. And I'm thinking, I'm just going to go away. I need someone with the spirit and the fire of Alan Friesen, who you can't go away from. He'll follow you singing a Ronnie Hawkins song until you stop and pay attention. That's my kind of guy. But I've been trying, and I just, one thing I detest is complacency. If you're complacent and you're a public servant, get out of the business. Go and cook a hamburger somewhere. You can still be helpful. But your job is to inspire.
Excellent. So what brought you to this point? So you were a trucker, right? And my dad drove after he left.
We've got a lot in common.
We do, yeah. And it was interesting.
I want to inject with something. You know what Brian does for just enjoyment? He goes and buys like 100 or 50 $2 hamburgers from McDonald's and a pack of cigarettes and some donuts and wanders around and just feeds people. Here you go.
It's that simple. But please carry on.
No, I was just going to say that driving truck, you have a lot of time to think, right? I mean, it's a tough job. But what got you from that to the philosophy you have now?
Well, when I was 18, it was my foray into that, growing up in Montreal. Don't hold that against me. But I became a big brother just on impulse, and it never stopped. And trucking was just something that paid the bills.
Okay, who were you big brother to? What was the boy or girl's name?
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, he has a memory like a dictionary.
And that would be 50 years ago. So I'm going to
did you make a difference in that boy's life?
I don't know. I mean, I hope. You always hope. You don't know if you're making a difference or not. You really don't. A woman called me, would refer to me, and she said, for example, she said, I'm confused. I want some advice here. I'm feeding this person who's homeless at Edmonton, and I don't feel like I'm getting gratitude or thanks. And I said, well, that's your mistake. When you do something of charity, make the sandwich, give the sandwich, and walk away. You're not there. You're not going to be thanked. Yeah. It's a humbling experience for the person who's receiving the sandwich, and to say thank you sometimes is a bit of a hurdle, and so you never really know.
So don't have that expectation.
Don't have the expectation. The one thing I again, just put your hand up. That's a red light. I'll stop. But I tried to go back to church. I love God more than I love being here with you folks, but I couldn't connect with church.
Right.
Then I had this stroke, And I said, after a while, I got to socialize. And I don't drink.
How long were you in the wheelchair for after your stroke?
Well, I was in a wheelchair for about 2 months. I came home on my own in a chair, couldn't walk or talk, and moved on from there. But I said, I have to socialize. I didn't know whether I was going to be able to carry on doing what I do. I know when a lady in the hospital was bed, I said, I'm not going out like this. I want to ride again. But I said, where do I go? I don't drink. I don't smoke. No drugs. And I did all of those things. I said, I don't now. And so, well, let's try church. Let's try church. I went to one. I don't have to name it. They're relatively all the same. And it's been 40 years, 30 years. I went to one church and I felt it, liked it. I wanted to be a part of it, but I wasn't taken. So I said, look, I got to go. I'll try something else. The next week I tried another church, massive church. No one said, hello, how are you? Can I help you? You're hobbling. Do you want to lift? Do you want to ride? Do you want anything at all? I want to drink? No, nothing. Sat there. I knew that wasn't my place. And what I did was I left and I bought the donuts and the cigarettes and the McDonald's burger. It wasn't too long ago you could buy black market cigarettes off 13th Street for $5 a pack. It's a matter of only a month or two ago, so it wasn't a big cost. And then I went down, starting at the shelter, and it's just so simple. Roll down the windows, and do you want a donut? There's no introduction. But you know what? That same day, after I left the church and went and handed out the donut, it was amazing. Because what you get is you get a guy totally disheveled with an odor you never forget, and you know, and seemingly lost, takes a donut, looks at me, and says, "God bless you," and that is a regular and on a regular basis. That I'm not an emotional guy, you know. I'm a tough trucker, cowboy, okay, and. But that will get you.
Yeah, of course.
One cigarette, you know? And so when you say, how did I get here? We all follow a path, and you live long enough, you get to the end of it with really not a big plan in mind. So I've never had a plan. I did have a plan. I had a plan, for example, to be married and stay married. It didn't work. So I tried 3 times in a row. And so I said, well, where's the plan?
Yeah.
And so I don't plan for that anymore. Something I do plan for.
So you had a stroke, but you're doing great, obviously. What's your plans moving forward? I know you and Alan talked about it. What do you guys think?
I'm going to defer to the man himself.
Well, do we want to share where we're at with this?
I'd love to. Okay. Yeah, I'd love to.
All right. So here's Brian and I were chatting, and basically we want to be able to make a significant difference. And what we think are the people that could use that help the most are kids who are with a single mother family, because a single mom, she might be working, minimum wage jobs, and she might have to work huge hours to make enough money to feed and clothe. And
usually more than one job, right?
My
mom had 3.
Yeah, your mom had 3. And
wow.
Yeah. So those are exactly, your mom is exactly the mom that we want to help, right? So the thought is that we're going to select moms that could use that help, and then make them an offer to assist them. And who, she doesn't know it yet, but this lovely woman that I know is who I'm actually going to engage to go and make the offers to these women, and then basically have a relationship with them that for 6 months we support them about $500 worth of support in food or other type things.
That's a good grocery order, even today.
Yeah, definitely. And so for 6 months. And then during that period of time, we're hoping to have a relationship with them as well, that we might be able to provide other supports. Maybe they need counseling and we find a counselor for her, right? Or her and her kids. Or maybe they need, maybe there's an opportunity to play in some kind of sport or game or thing like that. And they maybe need help with transportation to make that happen. Those kind of things.
Well, the inspiration behind that was this year, Camp Carmangay had all kinds of media coverage, global, Calgary, the Herald, radio, here we are now. And registration was dipping, going down. I called the sheriff.
And there's no fee, right?
No fee, totally, absolutely cost-free. And
Brian has been very, very successful in having huge sponsors who see the value in what he does, and just like, how much a check do you need, kind of a thing. So,
sounds better than it is, but I approached the people, the gay community, Pride, and In From the Cold, and the women's shelters, Kids Up Front, and I have a daughter that works with the traffic youth, and them, everyone, and I got very little response. And so registration was waning, and I said, what's wrong? What's going on? I can't do anything else that I could think of. And then it hit me. You know what? You got to feed the kid, and feed the mom, and feed the family, take care of the belly, and then they can start thinking about different things. Consider the cost of fuel. I mean, or insurance, or for those fortunate or unfortunate ones, there's now capital gains. And like every single way you turn, this is not piling it on. It's expensive, expensive, expensive. And so I'm thinking, moms, dads, I even opened up the camp for mom and dad, no cost, to come down, bond with the kids, because I know they want to. I'm from the generation that they hook up the tent trailer, put the canoe on top of the tent trailer, the coolers in the back seat, one person lays across the big window in the old Pontiac, and cross Canada.
Yeah,
that was a holiday. We could afford that. Fuel was 10 cents a gallon, a gallon. Okay, and so I realized, well, you can't. There's a wall. There's something, and it seemed to have coincided with COVID. That changed a lot. I don't want to get into, unless you want to, but and so I said let's do this. I didn't know how to do it, and so somehow we'll have to get to the family, have it trickle down to the youth, and then be able to register the youth and his friends into the cost-free experience, and then kind of go from there. And so it's a different world than it was 10 years ago. Great, wonderful groups, of which this man was one time the president of. I'm referring to, can I say the Rotary Club? I just said them. They're a global organization. They go out, but now the world has come here. Afghanistan is here. The Ukraine is here. Asia's here. I mean, they're all coming to Canada. 70,000 people migrated into Alberta last year from only Ontario and BC, to give you some idea. And stats pile upon stats. And so,
but just to interject one thing, when you're saying about the world is here, which they are, and a lot of those newcomers here could be single moms as well, could be even their challenges could be even compounded with racism and lack of language skills, right? Those kind of things. So
you've got Africa, you've got the South Sudan, you've got Ghana, you've got cultural issues, we've got a mix of all of us are here, Muslim with Christian, the Buddhist, and everyone else. And so it's not an outworld global reach. Your organization used to go to Mexico, bring ambulances, driving them themselves, fire trucks. And what I'm getting at here is now with a shift, the world is here. So maybe we can consider reaching out to our own neighbors. It's a wonderful, wonderful job that you do, that you've done, and that you will continue to do.
I thought this was your idea. I was just repeating what you said. Wasn't that? Is that the way it worked?
Whose idea was this?
I think it was yours.
Okay.
But we've experienced on the show, we've done a few shows on this, is there's a problem now where people don't know how to access the resources, whether they're new Canadians, whether they've been here a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've done shows. There's a great app we just
Scott and I did a show and we had a guest on, and there's this tool that people can, do you want to describe it?
Yeah, it's a tool that allows people to go on. They don't have to, you know, enter a bunch of personal information, but they enter information about their situation. And then it looks through the community for resources and government and non-government. And it looks through and it suggests these resources. I was quite sick, spent 4 months in coma. And so I put in my information there, and it spit out a bunch of resources that I didn't know existed. And so
federally, provincially, and municipally, that it says, here's resources that you might want to look at.
Yeah. And, you know, when you talk about attendance going down, one of the things that we've really found in the show is that there's a big disconnect between need and people providing services like yours. And so one of the motivations behind H3 is to invite people like yourself to let people know that there are people and organizations and that are trying to help people and making themselves available like you are for people in need. And you're not judging, you know, there's no scale.
Not at all.
So yeah, we hope that people will, you know, contact you, and Al will have the contact information. We'll put it up, but also share it with other people. Let your friends know. And you know, they don't, when my parents were first divorced, my mom moved into the city. We were on the farm, the ranch. And so we left. So her and my brother and I moved into the city, and she went to, at that time, I don't know what it was called. She needed 1 month's help financially, right? Because she'd left my dad, all the bank accounts, whatever. She had no access to money. She didn't want to go to her dad, my grandfather, for money because he was not so happy that she had left her husband.
Yeah.
But she had 3 jobs lined up, but of course they pay at the end of the month, not the beginning. And so she needed to feed us and get us to school and things.
Connected.
And so she went there and she said, well, I'd like to borrow, at that time, I think $250 is what she needed. I'm old enough that was enough money for a couple of kids carefully to get by for the month. And there's like, oh no, we don't lend money. But if you fill out this form and say you're destitute, basically, then we can give you money. And she's like, well, no, somebody else needs that money. I just need to borrow it for 30 days.
Yeah.
And she finally just left in frustration because it's like she was speaking another language. And, she shared that with us and shared with us in the past. And she felt so horrible, first of all, that she had to go and ask for help.
That's what I was referring to earlier. The one intimidating factor about that to me, I'm an old school guy, so I'll pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. And I'm not that well versed with social media and the high technology that's all available. I can get by. I don't own a computer. But if I were to encounter, and now I don't know, maybe you can help me with this. I don't know of an agency that isn't overwhelmed, doesn't have an excruciating lack of resources to put out. And so what I have found is that you provide a number and a location or a sequence, you can't get through. You can't get through on the line. What we have done to simplify that, and I'm not knocking, I think it's wonderful. Almost everybody is more high tech than I am. The younger you are, the more high tech you are. Sure. But I was always intimidated about like www dot whatever, and try, wait for an answer. Is it coming? Where's my answer? What do you do? And so I'd pick up the phone and I'd do it to this day. To simplify what we've done, and this is at the leadership of Mr. Alan Friesen, to get that name, Alan Friesen, pick up the phone. His idea was, let's call the food bank. Now they have their own agenda. Don't expect the food bank to hop on our wagon. But through Alan's resources, a fellow by the name of, can I say his name?
Oh, sure.
His name is Jason Aubrey, a past CEO of the food bank. Now we're talking in person, either one of us, and saying, have you got a list of 10 people? and he has more than 10 people, and then would go to somebody else within the community in that way. Our humble approach is to start with 10, but I would hope to be able to touch 50 lives. You know, we heard about commanding on the weekend. We leave that alone, but when you make a command, you demand it, you want it, you demand it, you live it, breathe it, think it, and make it happen at the expense of no one. Oh, by the way, who isn't saturated with a request to give to somebody? You know, there has to come. I got it. OCDC, ABCD. I got it all. So when you do this, I'm going. What's going on?
Michelle was just giving us a cue. We got 5 minutes left.
Yeah, I know. I got that, Michelle. I know. But anyway, let me compose myself and you take over. You know what I mean? In person, we simplify to say, look, like we're going to come up with a number and a name, but Camp Carmangay, just like it sounds, CARMANGAY, and 403-915-4199 gets you in touch with me.
So are there prerequisites? People have to.
No.
Okay, there you go. That's a simple answer.
So our plan is, as Brian has mentioned, we're going to get Jason, who's very, very, understands which people would be ones that this would be a good fit for.
He's a connector.
Right? Yeah, and so he's going to be helping with other resources, other people that he knows, the selection process. So it's not us. It's him saying, here are the 10 women and their kids that we think that you should focus on. And that's great. So we start there.
So if it was a single dad, are they excluded?
Someone just asked me that. Yeah. Why should they be?
Amen.
A single dad with up to 3 kids, why should they be?
That's true.
That's we should. I want to do a quick plug for the Okotoks Mission Store because they are providing every item from Band-Aid to parkas. I mean, in the cargo vans that will be distributed. We have a location of storage for the freezer, the food. It's a doable, done deal. Now we're here just to kind of promote if there is someone who's out there who is intimidated the same way I was.
Yeah.
Grandma, grandpa, uncle, auntie, cousin, somebody who has some time and says, God, I'm feeling so empty. What can I do? Well, I mean, do it. Do it by simply getting up and saying, is this that number? Are you the guy at the end of it? What can I do? Well, we'll have a coffee.
You touched on something earlier, Brian, and I haven't been part of this planning process, but
and the planning process, just to be clear, has not been completed. We're still spitballing stuff. So if you have a better way, if you think, oh, I know a good addition to that, let us know.
Yeah. Okay. So what I was going to say is that I talk to people that don't have a lot of money, that don't have stuff to give, but they have time. And and you were talking earlier, I think before we were on camera, about the need after your stroke of connecting to people, right? And building that up. And so I'm imagining that if people had time, that they could get in touch with either of you and donate that. Because often people need human contact, which is another human being.
To know they're not forgotten.
Exactly.
They still have value and will have to the last breath they take. Great point.
Yeah. Great. So if you don't have money or stuff, food, clothes, whatever, get a hold of the gents and let them know you have some time you'd like to get involved, because building
an idea, you have a passion,
exactly,
you have a dream.
Yeah. And what I think we're on the same page here. We're going to culminate this experience for these families that we're supporting, and whatever that support package ends up looking like, with like a camp. Right at Camp Carmangay.
That's the end.
Yeah,
we're going to start.
And hopefully, it's going to be an amazing celebration of, hey, you know what? Your life is better in these ways. Hallelujah!
Man, hey guys, this is already a great community. I only meet nice people. I do. I only meet people when they're nice. It's a miracle, really. I don't meet not nice people, and it's amazing that you can see the collective community will to bring us back to where we were before the decimation of where we are. and it's really inspiring.
So many of our problems come down to the decimation of community. Like when I grew up, we knew everyone within 20 miles.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too. Be home at 5 for supper.
Yeah.
Other than that, sit around. Never have a problem getting us out of the house. Okay, So I do want to express my gratitude to you and this show and the opportunity to have such an inspired half hour.
We should have Michelle on camera there too, right? Come on over here, Michelle.
Yeah, Michelle. Yes, right. We've got
She's-
the brawn. Bring in the beers.
And Jess is on the other side of all of this. So hey, Jess.
Hey, Jess.
So we don't usually get so high tech to have an actual producer here, but today,
Wow.
because Brian was coming, we had to get in talent to help.
Wow. Wait till I tell my grandkids who I am.
So we usually close things up with Alan giving a great summary.
Well, all right. So here's our summary. Brian and I have come to the conclusion that we can do more. We can contribute more than we ever have in our past. So we are putting our forces together in order to do that. And basically we have a common vision for the difference we want to make. We have resources, time, and energy and money that we want to support this with. And we're going to attract other funders, and we're going to find the right people to help. And we're going to help those 10 families right from the get-go over these next 6 months. We haven't got all the plans fleshed out, but it's going to happen. And it's going to be an amazing experience. And we're going to have a great celebration in Camp Carmangay about that. And when that goes so successfully, we're going to do it again. And when we do it again, maybe you'll say, hey, I can do this
The
myself.
first step of 1,000 miles or the first step of a journey of 1,000 miles, something about that is the first step.
Steps, journeys.
The journey is first step. 10 families is the first step.
Excellent.
I'd be disappointed if it stayed at 10 families. Rotarians were coming after you.
All right. So take us home, Scott.
From my good friend Alan Friesen, the acapellist, from our new friend and guest tonight, Brian. I'm not going to even have a shot at his last name, but from the Carmangay camp, get involved, guys. As we always tell you on H3, the route to happiness is really to get involved. And you don't need money. You don't need a bunch of stuff. Just make that first step, like Brian was saying, and that's taking you on the road to happiness.
Get him out soon. Good night.
See you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.